Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome. So we're here today with Free Speech, Why Do We Need It by HistoryScope. Now, HistoryScope is a channel that I've recently found, and I've kind of been binging all his videos, except his older videos, and this is one of those. Now, free speech is very, very important. I don't just have the ECHR Article 10 on the whiteboard that's been there for every single one of my videos, which is basically the European version of the free speech that many people in America are so well used to. We don't really necessarily have free speech, the same way that it is in America, in the UK, or in Europe, in fact. That's kind of why we have the ECHR Article 10, which sort of governs it, but, there are ways you can get around that, so it's not 100%, free speech isn't 100% free in Europe, at least, but it's been one of the most important things IMO personally. I also wrote a dissertation a long time ago on free speech, which is why I've had that on there for such a long time, because I was writing my dissertation. I was like, let's put it on there, so it's always in sight, always in mind, with that kind of manner, in that kind of way. But yeah, we're here today with free speech. Why do we need it? I have not seen this video before, but what I will say is I have seen other HistoryScope videos, and they've been very enjoyable. Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear the neighbor's dogs, but oh well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. So do support HistoryScope. I will have the link to this video in the description down below, so you guys can watch it yourself. Please watch it first before you come and watch my reaction to it. With that said, let us hop right in and get started. Boop.
Last episode, I drew Muhammad. This was not out of religious intolerance or because I wanted to be offensive. It is because censorship is wrong. If you don't think it's okay to draw Muhammad, then you don't do it. But do not take away other people's rights to their freedom of speech, because free speech is the bedrock of all liberties.
Interesting. There is a saying, that like, how does the saying go now? It goes something like, use the criticism that you're given to make an informed decision. And I think that's kind of what he's done right there. I've not seen the previous video, the one where he drew Muhammad, whatnot. But seeing the criticism that he got, the backlash that he got, and now making a video from that and explaining a certain topic, I feel like that's a good thing to do. Some people would say, well, you're just you're kind of making a headline out of criticism. I get it. I get that viewpoint, but I personally don't really subscribe to it. I personally think that I personally am very much in like the Socratic discussion tier of people. Like, I think everything can be debated and everything should be debated, but I also think everything should be debated civilly.
To their freedom of speech.
Anyway.
Because free speech is the bedrock of all liberties. Free speech is the people's defense against bad government. Politicians who err should be subjugated to unfettered criticism. When critics are censored, it helps authoritarian regimes justify their injustice and intolerance. As Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen pointed out, no democracy with free press ever endured a famine. Free speech is the spearhead.
Okay, this video seems. Look, we're only for this. I mean, it's a 4-minute video. What do you expect from a 4-minute long video? What do you expect? But I'm gonna pad it out a little bit, right? It doesn't seem as in depth as like the previous videos that I've seen, which I guess I should have noticed by the length. I didn't look at the length too much. I just noticed it was under 10 minutes, so I was like, okay, cool. One thing about Alfred Nobel, who we've seen here right now, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure that he became rich by making bombs. It was either bombs or it was TNT. It was one of those two, right? He either became rich by selling TNT or by selling bombs. And then he got so much backlash towards like the later half of his life because, bombs and TNT, well, they're used to kill people. And he got so much backlash that, and he noticed that like his legacy would be sort of like a supplier of murderous tools, and that's kind of how he would go down as that's kind of how he would go down after his death. So that's why he decided to create the Nobel Prize. It's like people would be like, oh, the Nobel, oh yeah, Nobel, Alfred Nobel, yeah, the creator of the Nobel Peace Prize. He was kind of just using it to deflect, not to make some good at the end of his life, but rather so like if people seek him out right now, people want to find out more about him, the first thought that comes to their mind is, their awards, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Prize here, Nobel Prize there. That's kind of the legacy of him.
No democracy with free press ever endured a famine. Free speech is the spearhead of understanding. Taboo is its enemy. When China's government orders economists to offer optimistic forecasts, it guarantees its own policymakers will be ill-informed. When we can no longer freely discuss amongst each other, it results in no longer understanding of fellow human beings and the world around us. It will lead to misinformation and mismanagement, disunity and suppression. Free speech is the engine on which science runs. Imagine if Galileo never questioned the church's belief that the earth was in the center of the universe. Imagine if Isaac Newton was never allowed to create his theory on gravity. What if Einstein was forbidden from creating his theory on general relativity? Do we truly want to live in a world where our ideas are not questioned? Where someone we've...
Okay, you've got Charlie Chaplin here right now. I mean, he raises a very interesting point, which obviously I think a lot of us understand how important free speech is. I'll have a discussion about this at the end because I kind of want to see where he goes to. But there are many people that argue whether free speech should be, free, quote unquote. That's kind of what my dissertation was about. Whether the EU as a whole should have free speech, unqualified, just free speech, pure free speech. And I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but we might discuss it a little bit towards the end.
We've never met tells us what to say, what to feel and what to think. Freedom of speech is the right to sometimes say things that other people don't like. It is accepting that, even though you don't agree with someone, you still allow them to say it. No person, no religion, no idea is so important that we can usurp the rights of another human being. Of course, there are limits to free speech. Child pornography, bullying or shouting "kill the Jews" to an angry mob outside a synagogue should never be allowed. Free speech is about expressing your opinion, not about hurting other people or inciting violence. Answer questionable speech with more speech. Win the argument without resorting to force. And never try to silence views.
Very fast. Again, this is one of his older videos, but you can definitely tell how the style has changed. His newer videos now are very much slower, more deliberate. Gives you a second to think, a second to breathe. This one just feels like he's talking, as if he's recording, stop recording, record immediately and then just put them together. It's stop, ding, 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 just constantly speaks. Quite difficult to actually get a word in. It's quite difficult to actually let it sink in.
More speech.
But it's a very
Win the
interesting
argument
topic.
without resorting to force. And never try to silence views you disagree with. Some of you might say, what is stopping anyone from discrimination? What if people could once again pick up the Nazi flag? What if we could once again openly discriminate? To that I answer, free speech defends itself. When you are racist, sexist or homophobic, there will be a backlash of those pointing out how bad such discrimination is. In the United States, African Americans were discriminated based on the color of their skin. This led to millions of people speaking out against discrimination. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks used their free speech to combat such hatred.
Nah, that mustache though. Come on, bro. That's as bad as mine. Come on, bro.
In India, Gandhi used his speech to bring to light the immoral actions of the British to the world. He fought the British hatred with peaceful speech, and in doing so liberated his homeland. We must be allowed to say offensive things, because at one point the notion of equal rights for all ethnicities was offensive. The notion of equal rights for women was once offensive. The notion of equal rights for LGBT community is still offensive to many. When the first speech is censored, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, it changes us all irrevocably. The first time anyone's freedom is trodden on, we are all damaged.
Okay.
Surrendering our freedom of choice.
I like this video, and I know we're nearing the end, but this is very, very Western based. Alright. There are plenty of countries, even countries that we would consider modern countries. He mentioned it at the beginning. China, for example. Free speech is definitely not there. You definitely don't have free. It's in their funny enough, it's in the Chinese constitution that free speech is allowed, except when it's harmful. And who determines when it's harmful? Well, when it's harmful against the government, it's most certainly harmful.
Usurping the rights of another, submitting ourselves to censorship. That is true evil, and we can never submit to evil.
Okay.
Do you agree with me? Is censorship this bad, or do you have a different opinion? Let me know in the comments below. I will be reading each and every comment. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.
Okay, I'm going to say a few things here, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, go subscribe to History Scope. As I said, he made some very good videos. Like, this is one of the videos that I watched, 43 minutes long. Again, I'm not going to react to a 43-minute long video because, quite frankly, you know, I like to pause quite a lot. And a 43-minute long video would probably take me about 2 hours just to get through on camera. With that said, this video it feels like a vendetta. And I said at the beginning that, like, you know, using, you know, something that you've been criticized for as a motive and a means to create content is a good thing to do, but at the end of the day, this one felt like he was just personally offended, which again is part of obviously the free speech whole mantra. But it felt like he was personally insulted. He was like, okay, I'm gonna tell these lads exactly what I should be able to do and say what I do and say. And yeah, okay, cool, yo. In my opinion, he should have gotten a lot more technical. A lot more in-depth. Should have taken one angle and stood with it. Instead, he kind of just like danced around a topic, I must admit. You know, instead of like being like, okay, free speech, let me give you, I mean, he did give you, you know, a few examples, but I feel like he should have gone a little bit more in-depth with those, with Eva Gandhi, or with the Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks scenario. I feel like he definitely should have like took one of them and maybe like dived into it. And instead, he kind of just like bullet pointed everything and then just like left it at that in a way. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of interesting narrative here that needs to be talked about, because this felt like a very Western video. And again, it really boils down to the fact that we don't really have free speech. Free speech really doesn't exist in the manner, in the shape that people think it does. You know, for example, right, the example he gave is right here towards the end is where is it? It's somewhere in the video. Like, okay, if you're saying something wrong, other people, you know, they can use their free speech to kind of protest and go against what you're saying. That's all well and good, but that really doesn't apply. It really doesn't apply to Europe. And right, I'm based in Europe because obviously I live in the UK, so I can only kind of go off of by what I know. But you don't really have that here. Like, for example, I'll give you an example, right? And some people will agree with it, some people won't. It really doesn't matter to me. Honestly, you make your own thoughts about it. But I'll give you an example, right? Recently, there was the Euros. I don't know how familiar some of you are with football or not, but recently there was the Euros, right? And England was in the World Cup, sorry, not the World Cup, the Euro final, right? They haven't won a trophy since 1966. So obviously, you know, you could tell, look, I live in England. Our work, very, very strict place. But even they were like, you know what? England is playing on Sunday. You can come, everyone, you can come in on Monday, you know, an hour and a half later, because we know that people are going to be out partying, all right? It was, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing the words, "It's coming home," right? You couldn't go anywhere. It was literally the whole country was a party. All right, and this was still in lockdown. But everything was basically a party. And then they went to penalties. For those guys that don't know football, penalties is basically all or nothing shootout, right? And the 3 players that missed were all black. Now, they got plenty of abuse on social media, plenty of racist abuse as well. And people that were racially abusing them, some of them were found, and some of them are now paying hefty fines, or some of them are now serving time. How much time, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't follow the story too closely, but yeah, you get where I'm going with this, right? Now, some may say, good. There's no place for racial abuse, so on and so forth. Okay, that's fair enough. Other people will say, you know what? They should be allowed to say what they want to say. Free speech at the end of the day. You know, if we go by this example, well, you know, you've got people insulting these players, and then you've got plenty of people that were telling the people that were insulting them off for it. You know, 2 sides of the same argument, 2 sides of the same coin. All right, so like, we don't really, in the UK, in Europe, we don't really have free speech in that same manner. Because, for example, you go to Germany, you can't say anything about the Nazis, right? That's just not a thing. you get put in prison, you get, if you use, get blocked, so on and so forth. So in principle, in theory, what he's saying makes sense, but it really only applies to a very, very select few countries. I mean, I keep saying America, United States of America, because it's pretty much true. America is pretty much like the only country that at least comes to mind that has like free speech, where you can essentially say anything, and get away with it. Pretty much, right? Not there might be some exceptions, but pretty much you can say anything, and it's you're protected. Your right is protected. I thought this would make a I thought this video would make a fun, interesting discussion, which I think we have had so far. Let me know where you sit on the fence. Let me know which side of the fence you sit on. Do you think that free speech should be complete and total free speech, or do you think there should be some limits put on it, where if you say something heinous, you can get put behind you're gonna have to pay for it, basically. What side of the fence do you sit on? I'm actually not sure. I'll be honest. Like, for me, I've always thought like complete freedom of speech was the way to go. And when I wrote my dissertation, I also looked at like the historical and cultural impact of it. It was from my master's, from my legal master's dissertation, and I kind of shifted like throughout writing my dissertation. I kind of shifted towards a view that perhaps there should be limits on speech. But then after writing my dissertation over the past few years, I've been thinking, maybe like total free speech is the way to go. So I'm sort of in the middle, if I'm being completely honest, because I go back and forth at any point, at any time. So I'm actually quite intrigued to see what you people think, what you all think, how you all think about this particular topic. Let me know in the comment section down below. I will see all of you in the next one, everyone. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out, and as always, bye.